All right, Lulu and Trae, how are you two doing today? You're looking fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good.
very
We're
much.
happy to be here.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
of course, I have to start, and I want to start by saying I literally was so thrilled to see Croak get at Lou. And I know that's like a weird way to start this conversation, but that part literally could not happen quick enough, if I'm being honest. Lulu, because that relationship dynamic between, your mother's boyfriend and Renee was beyond. What
Mm.
can you like give me or give the anticipated viewers like tidbit wise as to what they can expect to see with your relationship with Lulu?
You know what? I think this whole movie is you should expect the unexpected, with every element of it, with all of the relationships are really distinct. I think especially the relationship between Renee and Croak, and I think that's not something you can really describe. It's just something you have to witness. You have to watch this movie and see some crazy stuff goes down. And I think it's hard to put into words sometimes because we're talking about this, extraterrestrial, this out of this world creature. I think we just have to watch it for ourselves.
And Gil, listen, I have to call you Gil right now, Trae. Is it safe to say that Gil kind of had a thing for Renee? Because I feel like there was something like underlying going on there, like despite her like quirkiness, like her uniqueness. I think Gil had a thing for her.
Look, I agree. I think Gil definitely did have a thing for her. I don't think that Renee would ever let that happen. I think
I
that,
agree.
they just like became really good friends. We were just watching Something Borrowed last night, and it's like the John Krasinski and what's her face, the brown hair, the brunette girl, where they have that conversation. And he's like, I really like you. And she's like, just gives him a hug. It's like that's pretty much the relationship in my mind between Gil and Renee.
Mhm. And one of my favorite scenes that Gil had throughout this film was the moment you went down to the basement per se, and Croak ran up to you. The way you stare back at him, like holding everything in your body at the moment that you could, I was obsessed with that scene. Like, what is it that the viewers can anticipate seeing there with that particular, like, first interaction between Gil and Croak?
I mean, they can anticipate genuine fear. I mean, like Gil is not necessarily like the toughest guy. He's kind of just like a little dude. So the other thing is, that was in my audition scene too. So I had done that scene like multiple times for Matt, and
Wow.
comfortability just got better every time. So I was like, you know what? This time I was like pulling out all the stops, like really like kind of hone into that, like stone face, just absolutely frozen in terror, like look.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely it took some massaging for sure.
And this relationship between Renee and her mom, Lulu, if I can be honest, there were like certain scenes, and I'm like, oh my God, like Renee, just please give your mom a little bit more grace,
Yeah.
But I also understood what could have been perceived as like your slight disappointment in her relationship choice. Like, would you say that Renee viewed her mom as being weak? Or and it was just like a trait of hers that you couldn't bear, or like what was going on there?
I think it's a really complicated relationship,
Yeah.
given death of Renee's father figure and her mother's partner. I think there's a disappointment
Yeah.
in Renee. And I just think a deep sadness that she isn't getting what she needs from anyone in her life. And one of those people is her mother. So I think there is a disappointment. I don't know if it's necessarily because of her weakness or just because of her decision making, but that relationship is it's very contentious, it's very complex. Um, but I also think I tried to make it as parent-child relationships, especially in teenage years, are it's just a hard thing to navigate. And especially in her situation, she's going through the loss of her father. She is trying to find, I guess, common ground with her stepfather, and she also found an alien in the desert. It's all and I think that just shows how much Renee is going through and how much she's keeping inside. I think if her mother gave her someone to go to and to vent to, she would, but I think they're just both in very complicated places.
Yeah. I want to talk about the emotional element of this project for both yourself, Trae, as well as you, Lulu, because, Renee was very bold, but also quite unique. She was very fearless, but also unpeeled and unveiled very vulnerable moments. Trey stood by Renee's side 10 toes down until he felt like he had no choice. Despite it seems like feeling like, you know what, this is off. This is not right. Like, what did it take for both of you to peel back those layers of your character? Starting with you, Trey.
I'm glad you said starting with you because I was about to deflect to Lulu. No, I mean, I think the emotion was beautifully written into the script, and as an actor, when it's written well enough, and as well as Matt, God bless him, wrote it, I really didn't. I didn't have to do too much imagining or too much, too much work on the exterior. And I also think that, as I've said before today, just like kind of becoming a young man in today's world, and especially like for Gil, making these really tough decisions. It's like, do I prioritize my family or this girl that I kind of like? And this thing that could like screw up both of our lives, And it's like, I think innately Gil's like primary feeling is like fear the whole time. It's just like a fear-based mentality. He's making every decision out of like emotion and angst and anxiety. And the emotional side of that, I think really does just come down to like, being a young man. And I kind of know how to, even though the stakes are like so extreme, you can kind of boil them down to the, you know, what it feels like to, kind of start becoming a functioning member of society and weighing your different, battles, if you will, between relationships and friendships and family. And it all kind of came really naturally, just how, Matt folded everything in together. So yeah.
That answer. What about yourself, Lulu?
Yeah, well, I think as Trey was saying, it was the dialogue was written so beautifully, and I think a lot of the emotion was written underneath the words. So that was a big part of kind of my process with this script and navigating the character was making sure Renee, Renee is a character that bottles things up. So she'll be saying one thing, but thinking something else. And she'll be saying one thing, maybe, but it's a condensed idea of this full fledged thought that she has constantly going in her mind. So it was important for me to be able to show the audience and the people that are watching that she may be saying one thing, but there's a whole world, the whole universe inside her mind that she's not letting out, that maybe she's only revealing to her friend Croak.
Let me ask that about one particular scene for you, Lulu, with Renee and Jonathan. I have to know, was the spit scene a real thing? Like I have to know, like
This is a great question because it wasn't supposed to be. They were like, Lulu, you're not gonna do this. And Omari was like, Lulu, I think you should just spit. And I was like, I don't think I should. I think that's a terrible idea. I think you're gonna regret it. But we did this scene like a good handful of times, and every time Omari was just like, go ahead, like just do it. He was committed. So I mean, props to him because we were gonna do like this whole rig and they had it all set up, but Omari just came in and was like, no, you got this. It honestly, it was, I think, more nerve-wracking for me than it was for him because I did not want to spit on this man.
Yeah.
I did not want to spit on him. But he didn't mind, anything for the art.
Yeah.
you, Trey, do you have like a favorite scene throughout the entire film, like that stood out the absolute most to you, or that was like the most dreadful or most exciting to film?
One of my favorite scenes was probably um the morning or the day after, like when they get to school, when they like discover Croak. And Gil is just like disheveled, like he looks like he hasn't gotten like sleep for like a week. And he kind of like they have this like weird back and forth where he's like grappling with what this is, and she's like, I just need you to help me. And it's like these kind of like two butting heads, but it's so funny and it's like again written so well. And of course, there's a great Jurassic Park reference in that scene too, which is really funny. But yeah, it was probably my favorite. It was probably the most fun scene to film, and also my hair was like not cooperating that day, and that was a real issue. But that was probably like it's probably the most fun scene, like content wise.
Oh my God, I love it. And can I just ask, like, what grade were you both in? Like, I was like, I'm like, is this, I don't know what grade Renee and Trae are in. Like, is this sophomore year of high school? Like,
In the movie, we were supposed to be like freshmen in high school.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. We were supposed to be 15.
Oh yeah.
And I had just turned, or I had recently turned 17, so I was junior. I think I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And
I was 18.
and he had
So,
just turned 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know. So
Yeah.
yeah, senior.
So we weren't like
Senior.
very far off to that, 15-year-old
Yeah.
angst that we both had to portray, which was definitely helpful for me. I'm sure also for him.
and obviously, before I let you go, I have to ask about Kevin Hart.
Latasha, I'm so sorry. We're over time.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
so
Well,
sorry.
thank you both for
Thank
your
you
time, and
so
I look forward to talking to you later on down the line. And congrats on this project.
Thank
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.